Hi, I'm Maya from Bookworm Dreams and welcome to a new video. Today I'm gonna do a little mid-year check-in. This is the part of the year where, people are doing the mid-year freakout tag and just reflecting on the first 6 months of this year and what they have read, and I'm gonna do a version of that. So let's just start. First, we'll talk about some stats. As of filming this video, I have read 73 books. Of those, 42 were audiobooks, 28 were ebooks, and 3 were physical. Of these 73 books that I've read, 34 were fantasy, 21 were romance, but not like contemporary romance, it's fantasy or science fiction romance. 15 were science fiction books, 1 was a crime book, whatever you call those. 1 was horror and 1 was historic. Of the 73 books that I've read, 49 were novels, 53 were novellas, and I read 1 graphic novel. And of all the books that I've read, 52 of them, so 71%, were part of a series, so either a beginning of the series or in the middle of the series, and 21 books, or 29%, were standalone books. Of all the books that I've read, 46 were by authors that I've read before, and 27 books were written by authors that were new to me. So that's the stats. Now let's talk about the goals that I set for myself at the beginning of the year. I will leave the video link somewhere here, you can check it out and see how I'm doing with those. So one of my first goals was to read 100 books. That is the Goodreads reading challenge. I'm on my way, obviously. Then another goal was to use Storygraph more. Now, to do this goal, I decided to spend January using both Storygraph and Goodreads, and that was kind of a pain. And since then, I haven't used Storygraph at all. I think it's just the familiarity of Goodreads and is what wins here, because I'm just familiar, know how to use it. I'm part of several groups, and I think if I were to change, I would really have to go like cold turkey and just delete Goodreads and just focus on Storygraph, but I'm not there yet. Then I am participating in various reading projects, so let's just go through them and see how I'm doing. So the first one is the Buzzword reading challenge created by Kayla from Books and Lala, and she basically gives us a buzzword for each month, and you're supposed to read a book with that buzzword in the title, and I'm doing the second year in a row with all sci-fi books. I am currently 2 books behind. I haven't read the April book and the June book, and I have DNF'd to 1. That was the May book. The April book was with emotions, and I'm supposed to read Cruel Stars for that. I still haven't. The May book was Rosewater, which I DNF'd, and that was for the buzzword with like herbs, seasoning, and whatnot. And the June one is, the buzzword is other, and I think I'm reading something by Octavia E. Butler for that one. Then another reading challenge that I'm doing is the Reddit's Fantasy Bingo Challenge. I have achieved bingo in this year's reading challenge, and I have made my life really complicated with this year's, I guess this 2023-24 reading challenge by adding a new extra TBR with POC authors. So far, I have read 7 of the 50 books I'm supposed to read for this challenge. So, I still have till the end of this year and till the end of March of next year, but still, I need to focus more on that. Then I'm also doing the Kristinelli Awards, as I said before. So Kristen from the Kristinelli SFF channel, links everywhere. She's basically trying to do like her own version of the Hugo Awards to see if our results of our reading will be different than, what everyone that is participating in the Hugos is. So, I have done we're supposed to read until, I want to say April. Am I lying? Something around April, I think, we were supposed to read like the first batch, right? And I did that. And now we are in the home stretch. I think we're supposed to read like the finalists, I guess, till August, I believe. And I think I have like 7 books. That's like 4 novels and 3 novellas that I have to read for that. So we'll be focusing on that in July, probably. Then I'm also doing the 2000 to 2023 reading challenge, where I'm supposed to read a book for each year, between 2000 and 2023. And for that, I read 5 of 24. So I really have to focus on that. But I did like all the stuff that I've read so far, so that's good. But, you know, only 5 out of 24 that I have to read, so we'll be focusing on that too. And then another challenge that sort of happened in January, if you are participating in the Aurelium Magic Readathon created and hosted by G from Book Roast, there is a year-long reading challenge, like a choose your adventure type of reading challenge, and I'm doing alright for that. I have to read a book for June, but I usually basically just look at all the books that I've read in the month and see if they fit the prompt, and if they don't, then I pick and then I read a book for that prompt. But I'm doing alright, so I'm like, you know, I have to read a book for this current month, so that's doing good. Now let's talk about my series. So in every reading goal at the beginning of the year, one of the goals is to finish series. Yeah, let's see what I've done. I've sort of categorized my data into like series I finished, series I'm up to date on, and series I've started. So the series I finished 2 series. I finished The Shifters of Garorev. I cannot pronounce the name of that fucking town, by Ellie M. Drew, which is a paranormal romance series. Then I finished Rogue Queen by Jessie McAllick, but I also started it. So, but whatever. I started a new series and finished it, so that's good. Up to date. I am now up to date to 4 series. I'm up to date with the Wayward Children series by Sean Maguire. Then Me and Mishaps series by Kimberly Lemming, and the Fetch Philip Archives by Luke Arnold, and the 5 Packs series by Kate C. Wells. I've started 11 new series. 3 of these are with an asterisk because they only have 1 book in the series, but there will be more in the future. But I'm counting them as I started it because, you know, I'm going to continue on with the series. So the first 2 are by Ilona Andrews, and that is the Aurelia Rider series and the Iron Covenant series. And the third one is by James J. Butcher, which is the Unorthodox Something Chronicles series. This is a new urban fantasy series, which was... The first book was really, really good. Then I started Starlight's Shadow by Jessie Mihalik. I started The Rogue Queen and finished it, as I said before. I started The War Eternal by Rob J. Hayes, I believe. Threadlight by Zach Argyle. Tales of the Ketty J by Chris Wooding. Mercy Thompson by Patricia Briggs. Monsters of Verity by V. Schwab. And Consortium Rebellion by Jessie Mihalik. I need to do better with finishing my series, so I think the rest of the year hopefully will be focused on that. Then I want to talk about keeping track of my reading. So this year was the first year that I started using a spreadsheet. So I got, oh my god, hardback hoarders. Oh my god, what is the girl's name? That is so rude of me that I don't know the creator's name. Anyway, she created this awesome spreadsheet. And I used it. I used it religiously for like the first 3 or 4 months, and then I just stopped. There is a lot of data that is being collected in that spreadsheet, and it's too much for me. I'm not really all that into like that specific stats or data that's being collected in this. So it's like I'm just using it to write down the name of the book, the author, if I did the audiobook, or which format I read it in. I don't even put like stars in the spreadsheet anymore. And what do I write? I write genre and whether it's part of a series or not. Just for these basic stats that interest me. So I am trying to figure out whether to just create a new reading journal for me, because I do have a bullet journal for my reading, but it's usually just to make lists, like to create the TBR and then wrap up at the end of the month, and just to create sort of pages for various readathons and reading challenges that I'm participating in. But I want to create an actual journal to jot down my thoughts, and so to have something more than just a list. I'm going to use the summer to figure that out and to try to create something to fit what I need to keep a track of my reading. And now let's talk about my favorite books that I've read so far this year, and some disappointing books that I've read so far this year. So I have 4 books in my favorites. I think I do have reviews for all of them, so you can just check out the playlist to check out my thoughts on these. So one of my favorites is Od Koljevke pa do groba by Antonija Mežnarić, which is an urban fantasy series with elements of horror. It's a book in Croatian. dealing with Slavic mythology and set in a Croatian town, and it's really a really cool start to an urban fantasy series, and I'm looking forward to the sequel. Then Alona Andrews has to be on this list. I read Iron Magic, which is an urban fantasy romance with a really strong enemies to lovers trope. There's also a marriage of convenience trope with, two people who don't really like each other, and they're both using each other for reasons, but it was a fun read to see them sort of come together to fight a common enemy. I read The Imaginary Corpse, which was a lovely surprise. It's about a toy Triceratops detective who is trying to figure out who is murdering other toys and ideas in his imaginary town. And it is so, for the theme, it's so cozy. It seems like a hug, because the way that our Tippy, I think the character's name is, the way he approaches his job and approaches the victims and approaches other characters, and it is so good. I really liked it a lot. And then the last I want to mention is Along the Razor's Edge by Rob J. Hayes. This is book 1 in the War Eternal series. It is such a good book. It's so self-contained because we follow a group of people who are trying to escape prison. And it is so good. I enjoyed it so much. And the sequel is such shit. But yeah, the first one is really, really good. So yeah, hopefully the third one will be much better. Now, I want to talk about some of the disappointing books that I have. I don't really have the worst books, because if I don't like a book, I stop reading it. So as I said, I DNF'd Rosewater by Tade Thompson because I just wasn't gripped by the story. It's a sci-fi set in Africa in which we follow a very, very unlikable character. And he lives in this town called Rosewater, which appeared around an alien dome. So I am not... I DNF'd at 70% of the book, and we still haven't entered the dome. We don't know what the dome does. I mean, it does something. We do know what it does, but we don't know who's in it, and I wanted to know more about the aliens, and I was not getting any of the aliens, so I stopped reading. Then another disappointing book that I finished is The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling, because this was supposed to be like a sci-fi horror. That is not a sci-fi horror. It's two characters working on their trauma by basically being horrible to each other. And I didn't even know how I finished it. I think it was an audio. That's why it was easy to finish, because I was doing something else. But yeah, I did not like it at all. And another disappointing book is, for me, this year was The Taste of Golden Iron by something Roland. I didn't get what I wanted. What I wanted was a really cool romance. And you technically do get a romance, but it's like in the last 20% of the book. And we sort of... so many things happening in this world, and there was a really cool sort of counterfeiting case that we were following, and that got solved off screen, off page actually, and it was just so annoying. And I was annoyed the entire time by the characters who seemed to keep changing their... personalities every couple of chapters, and it was just, I don't know, I didn't like it at all. And I do have a favorite new author, which means an author that I haven't read books from, so and that is Jesse Michalek. I should also learn how to pronounce the author's name. So I think this year I have read 6 books by the author, which is really cool. They're they write science fiction, space opera adventure with a strong romance, and I just have a lot of fun reading them, because besides of the romance and the action, there is a political intrigue, and there's always something to sort of keep you gripped in the story and following the characters, and there's just such a fun read. And I just want to end this video with talking about my summer reading plans, because I don't think I'll do a TBR for July. I'll do one for August because the Aurelium thing is happening in August. But for July, I think I'll just be focusing on my reading challenges, because I need to read more from the reading challenges just so I can complete them, The challenge is there to be completed, right? I'm just hoping to sort of find my way back into epic fantasy, because I haven't really read a lot of it this year. I've been focusing more on cozy stuff, and again more on something with a strong romance, which, it's not different from previous reading years, but I've just really noticed that I'm not actively reading anything that is sort of epic in scale, and I think I want to get back more to that in the next half of the year. So I guess we'll have to wait till autumn comes, because it's too hot to read stuff and focus on world building and politics and whatnot. So yeah. So that's my mid-year check-in. In the comments, can you share how many books you've read this year and what is your favorite book you've read so far? So other than that, if you want to share your thoughts on my stats and everything I read so far, you can do so down below in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Press the bell button to get notification whenever we post new videos. If you like this video, press the like button. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!